everyone, and Happy New Year, and welcome to the first full moon of 2023. And I'm looking forward to sharing my intuitive thoughts and some insights around this full moon. This full moon is called the Wolf Moon, and it's happening on January 6th. And like every full moon throughout the year, it amplifies, reveals, accentuates, increases possibly what you're deeply feeling inside. That could include your worries and fear and apprehensions, but also it can expand and show you the way in which you are deeply feeling what it is that you need to be doing right now, what it is that you are here to shine forward. So, with Mercury retrograde happening until January 18th, along with Mars retrograde until January 12th, this full moon gives you an incredible opportunity, or multiple opportunities actually, to revise or revisit your New Year resolutions, maybe even ideas or plans that you made over the holidays or the New Year celebration. So this is truly our chance to start the new year fresh and clearly get yourself more grounded and become more aware. This particular full moon on January 6th is going to hold the mirror up for you. And then this is the time that you can revisit and recreate the new experience that you want to have in 2023. And this is the time that the moon is asking you to take a look at the commitments you made for yourself and maybe the renewed vows or contracts, maybe even soul contracts that you rewrote during the New Year's or maybe during the holidays. And then the promises that you made or the declarations that you uttered out loud to maybe others that were able to witness that for you or for yourself. This is a great time to look at that deeply because the moon is holding that mirror up so that you can do the reflection work right now. And like I said earlier, this gives you such a great opportunity over the weekend as well to visit the New Year resolutions. And remember that the moon stays in the kind of the similar phase. So if it's a full moon phase for 2.5 days or so, even up to about 3 days. So you have some time over the weekend to go over these things. And I think it's a great time to ask yourself something like, can I stay true to what I said I would commit to doing this year? Even after the New Year's have passed and the celebration has passed, and really the dopamine high has come down. The dopamine high is what happens when we're celebrating and when we're feeling so excited and the newness is happening. We release a lot of dopamine and it feels really good. It's really uplifting. But what happens is that it's hard to stay in that dopamine high and we tend to come back down from it. So I think that this full moon feels like just the perfect timing this year for all of us to say, okay, now that the dopamine high has maybe subsided a little bit, what can I do? Maybe get a notebook, maybe a brand new notebook. I actually went and got myself a brand new notebook so that I can begin fresh, so that I can make the commitments again and revisit some of these promises that I've made for myself. And I think it's worth mentioning this again, is that our active way-making theme is taking your seat. So this full moon gives you the chance to revisit and recommit to this theme and ask yourself, what does it mean to take your seat in 2023? So for those of you that participated in the waymaking, we spent some time going over some archetypes as well and imagining what that seat looks like for you. So I think this is a great time to once again pull out the notebook and write down, maybe meditate on it and become clear in what it is that you are trying to show up for, but to show up fully towards, and what kind of seat you are committing to taking. One of the main things about this particular full moon is that it dares you to get fresh ideas and play with new ideas. And I think that's really exciting. It's this freshness that comes with the celebration and the renewal of this new year. But I think it's not only, end it with the celebration, but start thinking about what are fresh ways that you can show up to the world. What is new in your life? And this is the full moon that's going to dare you to release the dead weight. And dead weight is maybe, truly, maybe some excess weight that you accumulated over the holidays, but also can mean that you've said yes to too many things and that has become weighted on your shoulders, or you feel like that the weight of the world is really crushing to you. Well, maybe this is when you need to go and seek some support from Mother Gaia or your favorite tree, or walk through some areas that it's filled with nature so that they can maybe breathe with you. As you breathe out, the nature can breathe that in and filter that out for you. And this full moon's going to dare you to certainly explore and experiment with different choices, maybe options that are there, but you just never really looked at, or new way of living has shown up in your life. And you're thinking, wow, this is interesting. Maybe that's another way to say, okay, I'm going to explore this option. Or maybe I'm going to experiment. I'm going to become curious towards this. And as many of you know, curiosity really heals the brain. Staying curious actually lowers the burning, the heat, the nervous energy around your limbic part of the brain. So this winter for Northern Hemisphere for us, this cool and kind of this in the middle of the winter cold moon creates a wonderful chance for you to explore internally, externally, so that you can cool that part of the limbic part of the brain as well. And I do believe that this full moon in particular is a wake-up call. And wake-up call to commit to transforming. Wake-up call to say enough is enough, or wake-up call to say, you know what, I need to jump in and do this. Or I cannot play small anymore and I need to take my seat fully. That kind of a wake-up call is definitely fueling this beautiful full moon this time. And, it's your way of saying, okay, moon, I dare you to help me transform. I dare you to actually step into this next realm of who I am. So it isn't just about the moon daring you, but maybe you are asking the moon to dare you. And this particular full moon is going to illuminate and expose definitely some of the old structures. And old structures are not just about the government or maybe your city limits or even how the politics work all across the globe and things like that. I mean, these are going to come out definitely pretty quickly this year, right off the bat in January, because it's already getting illuminated by this full moon, but within yourself as well. So take a look at old patterns, maybe old routine, maybe things that you have promised yourself, but these are kind of promises that need to go and renew itself or maybe be done with it. And antiquated assumptions about others, but also yourself. Just look around, pause for a moment and say, what are some of the assumptions I've made that just really is no longer working for me? And these assumptions and belief systems, and that it's maybe wrapped around in judgments. And, old patterns are really hard to let go of. but how are they serving you? Just it's so important that you pause right now, even pause this video and write it on your new notebook. What are some of the things that I can let go of that needs to be exposed? And it's not like you need to go out and tell the world about it, but this moon is definitely asking you to illuminate that area. And it's actually not as gentle as some other full moons that we've experienced last year. There was a lot of gentleness that needed last year because of it was a tough year also. But right now, this full moon is not being too gentle. It's being very explicit and saying, I'm illuminating, go and release. And like I said about the last year's weight and your MO and past requirements and expectations. And maybe it's worth it for you to look at maybe expectations in particular and say, well, where are these coming from? Are these coming from my childhood? Is this coming from my spouse, my maybe relationships I have at work? Where are these things coming from? And can I renew them or can I change them? Just expose them, illuminate. You don't need to resolve everything. It's just the moon is asking you to do some deep soul work around this. And the one last thing I wanted to say about this is that the moon is going to ask you, and in a way that you will have to answer this yourself, but what you are pretending to be. Like, have you been putting on a different mask or maybe an archetype that is long overdone or it needs to be released and you're just pretending to be that and it just needs to go? So take a look at what you're pretending, and maybe this is based on who you think you should be or what you should be accomplishing and so on and so forth. So it comes back to that, maybe past requirements to survive and maybe past expectations that you've been answering to. And in this video, I wanted to take you through just a short meditation around the full moon. And before we do this, I wanted to maybe take you through a little bit of a Japanese culture here. So in Japanese culture, in ancient Japanese, my ancestors on one side have always said in a little bit of a maybe a warning tone around the full moon. They believe that the full moon should be held between your hands and taken into your heart center by closing your eyes and imagining, instead of looking directly at the full moon too long. And it sounds a little strange, right? Because the full moon is so beautiful, so bright. In a place like where I live, where it's covered with snow on the ground, the reflection and the light is just glorious. But the ancient Japanese have warned us of looking at the full moon directly too much, just looking at it and saying, oh, wow, that's beautiful. That's okay. But they emphasize the importance of the full moon, particularly when it comes to full moon, but particularly like the winter full moon that can have a lot of reflections, is to actually close your eyes and imagine the full moon entering into you. Instead of just gazing at the moon, you can gaze it for a little bit and then come back in, close your eyes, and imagine that exact full moon that you saw in the sky coming back and reflecting inside you. And my take on this, and why the ancestors of Japanese have warned us a little bit about this, not in a negative way, but they just said that you really want to illuminate it from the imagination point, from the inside out. It's because the full moon can reveal a lot and illuminate a lot. And the full moon will dare us to go a lot deeper. And it can be really strong. It can be a powerful force in us. That's why I think the ancient Japanese people have told us to just go little easy on ourselves. Don't take it too fast. Don't take it too deep, too much so that you can't handle that level of exploration. Okay, so keep that in mind, and let's just imagine that you are holding this glorious full moon between the palms of your hands, just like this image. And let's just take nice, slow, deep breaths through the nose, out through the nostrils. Very gentle. As you breathe in, you can feel the cool lunar energy entering in through your nostrils. And exhaling, you can sense that little bit of a warming of that air coming out of your sinuses and your nostrils. Do that a couple more times as you hold this illuminated, glorious full moon between your palms. And then slowly take that moon and move that moon towards your heart. So you're pulling the moon into the heart center. Now that full moon has taken up the whole space of your heart center, your fourth chakra. And also it's so large and it's illuminated. It's illuminating the upper part of your third chakra as well. And that light is shining towards your fifth chakra as well. So just imagine that you're holding the full moon right at the heart center. You can move the palms a little bit apart as if you're holding this moon between your palms as well. And as you breathe in, take in the power and the energy from the full moon that is reflecting the sunlight. And then breathing out. And also begin to imagine this full moon is holding the mirror up for you, facing the mirror towards you. So as you breathe in and as you breathe out, reflect back your pure self, your truth. And as you continue to hold this moon in your heart center, as you breathe out, clear the surfaces of the mirror that's reflecting. You're breathing out. Some of them may be agitations, maybe some things that made you worry already coming into this new year. Maybe apprehensions that you have of this year. Release that out. And then begin to hold the light more and more inside. And as you create the more of the light center in your heart, you're creating a grid, like your own grid of light that will connect with others. So imagine every single one of us is holding this light, creating this light that's reflecting from the moon into you, from your inner light reflecting back to the moon. Every one of us is doing this. This is what it is to live and create for the highest good of all being. So hold that space for another breath or so. And slowly imagine that you're holding the moon again between your palms. So bring your hands closer, shrinking that moon a little bit in size so you can hold them between your palms. And you're going to return that moon back to the cosmos. So raise your hands, return that moon back to the night sky. And relax your hands and your palms. And let's bring our hands together at the namaste position right at the sternum area. And let's bow deeply towards this new year, 2023. And let's welcome opportunities, possibilities, and curiosity.